good afternoon, everyone. This is Nithin Ramachandra from the Nithin Sports Rush, back with another episode. I got a special one for you guys today. And if you guys are a baseball fan, please tune in. And because this is the best time of the year of baseball, where the winter meetings is being held in Orlando, Florida. That's where all the news will come out. Free agent signings, trades, you name it. All the reporters are there, managers, former players, current players, even. Well, you never know what you're going to find at the winter meetings. And I got the perfect guest to talk about that. His name is Daniel Winkler. He's a former MLB pitcher. He played for the Atlanta Braves and Chicago Cubs. What an underrated career. He was, in my opinion, he was an underrated pitcher when he was on the mound. And he had some great stuff, nasty stuff. And he played with two great organizations with the Atlanta Braves, Chicago Cubs. And he played with great teammates, which we'll get to. I want to talk about his journey, how he got into playing baseball. And also, we'll get to the Hall of Fame, which got announced yesterday. Jeff Kent got inducted to the Hall of Fame. We'll talk about that. Obviously, the winter meetings and his free agent process and how it works for him. But without further ado, Daniel Winkler, welcome to the show. Glad to have you on, and good to see you again. And welcome to the family.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me. It's always great to do these, so I enjoy these. I'll reminisce a little bit.
Yeah, so Daniel, first off, before we get to your career, I want to get to a couple of things. Like first, the Baseball Hall of Fame got announced yesterday. Congrats to Jeff Kent. What a baseball player to watch over the years, and one of the best second basemen to play the game, and he well deserved. And I expected more players to get in, but I just want to get your thoughts on Jeff Kent. And I don't know if you watch highlights of it, but what do you like about Jeff Kent, and obviously well deserved with the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, I mean, you talk about hard-nosed player, like blue-collar player, like Jeff Kent embodies that. I think, I grew up loving baseball. I grew up at 90 miles from St. Louis, so I was kind of right in the thick of St. Louis, Chicago, the Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa home run battle. That got me loving baseball. So, I remember fondly of Jeff Kent, and the Cardinals always beating. Was it Giants, Pirates?
Giants, Pirates, I think, and then I have to look it up here. But mainly, I guess more known for the Giants.
Yeah, so. Yeah, great career. But what I remember about Jeff Kent is like he just got the job done anyway. He had to. So congrats to him. It's good to see him getting in the Hall of Fame. I did think there'd be more as well. Man, it's incredible how hard it is to get into the Baseball Hall of Fame. I always wonder, will I play with a Hall of Famer? Will I called somebody, a teammate of mine, a Hall of Famer? So hopefully, down the road, I'll be able to do that.
Yeah. So speaking of the teams he played for, Jeff Kent played for the Blue Jays, Mets, Cleveland Indians, and now Guardians, San Francisco Giants, Houston Astros. And who doesn't play for the Dodgers? He also played for the Dodgers. So everybody plays for the Dodgers, apparently. So, but so talk about, and also I want to talk about two of your former teammates. First, obviously, Mike Soroka just signed a deal with the Diamondbacks. So congrats to him. Whenever he's healthy, he's a great pitcher to watch. And another one of your former teammates, Kurt Suzuki, got an opportunity to be the new manager of the Los Angeles Angels, first-time manager, and obviously high IQ as a catcher, great career, and you pitched to him too. So just talk about both of them, and how excited are you to see them still continue their careers in different aspects?
Yeah, first Soroka, just good to see him healthy. I know he's battled even a little bit last year. I think he battled the injury bug a little bit. So it's good to see him, still getting opportunities and battling back from those two crazy Achilles injuries. You just love to see him healthy. As somebody who's gone through injury troubles myself, you never want to see that keeping somebody off the field. So good to see him, get a deal and hopefully continue to thrive. I mean, we called him Iron Mike because he came from the sky, nasty sinker, nasty stuff. So love to see him succeed. And then Zook, man, good for him. He deserves to be a manager. He was one of my favorite catchers to throw to. I remember my 18 years, my best year, and a lot of it had to do with Zook. I mean, Zook was always there with me. He was always in lockstep. If I was struggling, he knew the right things to say. So yeah, I'm glad to see him get an opportunity, and I'm excited to see what he does with that Angels team. Hopefully, they become relevant again. I know like the GM over there and used to be with the Braves as well. So I want to see them succeed. And sad that Wash didn't succeed, but excited to see what Zook can do.
Yeah, and I feel like he can manage. He can relate to the young players that the Angels have currently, and I think that's a perfect hire for them. Obviously, going through the rebuilding process. Obviously, you have a star player, Mike Trout, so that's a good thing to start with Kurt Suzuki. So right off the bat, but it's going to be interesting to see what he does. He's currently at the winter meetings, I'm sure, making moves with the GM, but they already made a couple of moves too, which they improved the rotation. But for you, I want to get to you now. Talk about your draft. You got drafted by the Chicago Cubs, which is funny because you got to play with them eventually, but you decided not to sign with them the first time around. You went to UCF. So talk about that process and the draft experience. Obviously, getting drafted, but what decided you to go to college first?
Yeah, I'm from a small town of 10,000. Was 60 kids in my high school graduating class, so I just wasn't ready for pro ball. I mean, I had Division I offers out of high school. I decided to go junior college. Probably the best decision for me, kind of get acclimated with competitive baseball. I mean, we had 4 big league guys on our team, Kevin Kiermaier being one of them. And then my sophomore year, I pitched really well, and I got drafted by the Cubs. It was real late. That was when draft and follow was big. I pitched well that summer. They followed me a little bit, and I just wasn't ready. I was excited to go pitch Division I. Say I was a Division I pitcher. Go to UCF, pitch against the likes of Florida State, Rice, like all those really good schools. That's what I needed, and obviously, worked out. Like I turned down the Cubs. I went to UCF. Got drafted by the Rockies the next year, and I was ready at that point. No matter what round it was going to be in, I was like, I'm ready to go play pro ball. I'm ready to start this. I had conversation with Kevin because he was drafted my sophomore year. He actually accepted it, so we had good conversations then. So I knew guys that were in pro ball who kind of I could relate to. So I was ready to go after I got drafted at the UCF, just not my sophomore year.
Yeah. So speaking of UCF, and you get to compete against the top level colleges also. And would you say that? Would you say that helped you out and got you ready for the major leagues for the second time around?
Yeah, I mean, so I was like facing guys like Anthony Rendon and just big league guys that I faced my entire career in college.
Yeah.
I remember going from UCF to rookie ball, and it was almost like taking a step back, not in a bad way, but it was just like the competition that I had been seeing. They were so much more mature baseball players. Rookie ball was more like raw talent, a lot more raw talent. But pitching at UCF and facing those guys, it was like very mature baseball players. And so I was, when I got to rookie ball and A ball and those kind of things, I had a little leg up just because I knew how to pitch a little better. And then I got to double A, and it was like, all right, this is maybe similar. And it definitely prepared me for double A and above, I guess.
Yeah. What adjustments in your junior season at UCF? You went 3-4 with a 4.7 ERA, 7.0 ERA. What adjustments did you make after that year? Because it looked like you had an up and down season, but you fixed something. What was the adjustments that you fixed?
Yeah, I had a story of my career, probably kind of like up and down. I had a rough stretch, and again, story of my career. I had 3 or 4 game rough stretch. I don't even know. I mean, probably 30 runs I gave up, and innings, something like that. And I went to the bullpen, and honestly, me and my coach, we were kind of butt heads a little bit, and we just had a heart to heart. And it was more the mentality. And he was hard on me because he saw a lot on me, and just hearing that from him, knowing that he believed in me when he was a little more harsh, that helped a lot. And then I just started trusting my stuff. At that time I was throwing a sinker. I was low 3/4, And then I started pitching really well. I kind of got my confidence in my groove, and I finished the year out really well. And then I got drafted and had a chip on my shoulder. Like it was like I felt like I should have been higher than a 20th rounder, and I was going to prove people wrong, kind of thing. So yeah, that momentum kind of carried into that. So definitely carried me to get into the big leagues.
And you did prove people wrong for sure. And speaking of the second time around, you got drafted by the Colorado Rockies, and you signed the deal with them. So what was it like getting drafted by the Rockies and second time around, and then eventually getting to and having the opportunity to sign that deal, and then starting your major league career?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just be real, be a little honest. Like I was upset. I was excited that I got drafted. You know, the process is just odd. At least it was back then. You see these high school kids and all these guys that you felt like you're better than get drafted before you, and they're told. I was being told 5th to 8th round was my slot, and I fall all the way to the 20th round, and I was just again ready to get in and ready to prove that I belonged, and I'm thankful for that. Like I will never say like, oh man, I wish I would have been a 3rd rounder, because that probably wouldn't have been good for me. I proved in my career once I kind of proved people right. Now that was kind of tough for me. It was more of like, hey, I'm gonna take that avenue of chip on my shoulder, and that always helped me pitch better. So I was when I got into pro ball, like I was like, hey, I'm gonna dominate. I'm gonna show people that I belong to be here, and I'm gonna get to the big leagues kind of mentality.
Yeah, I want to get to one game that you pitched in the minor leagues with the Colorado Rockies. You pitched a combined no-hitter with 2 relievers. So talk about that moment. I think it was June 25th, 2013. And let's talk about that moment when you guys had the opportunity to do that, pitch a combined no-hitter.
Yeah, actually, I think I got the plaque up there. Probably can't see it. But yeah, I mean, that was a special game for me just because from low A Asheville to high A California League, something changed. Again, it was like that confidence. And I had Dave Burba, who pitched in the big leagues for a long time. He was my pitching coach. He pulled me aside. He goes, hey, start attacking the zone more. And I kind of got the confidence. And I was pitcher of the year that year. And I just kind of on one of those rolls. And that game, I was just like, everything was working. And, I was getting ground balls. Defense was making just every play for me too. Taylor Featherston, he had a cup of coffee in the big leagues. He was my second baseman. Trevor Story was my shortstop. We had a few big league guys on that team who just were making play after play for me as well. It's just one of those like, hey, right time kind of things. And I'll never forget the last out. Scott Oberg, who pitched in the big leagues for a while as well. Last pitch he threw, he kicked it right to first base, and we combined no hitters. So yeah, it was pretty cool. I'm obviously, minor leagues, you can say anything, but ever throwing a no hitter in baseball, it's hard to do. So I'm definitely proud of that.
Yeah, and you put up some amazing numbers in the minor leagues, and but unfortunately you went through an injury, Tommy John surgery. Talk about that, and talk about the process of that and overcoming the Tommy John surgery. And obviously you mentioned this before a lot of times, but just talk about that period, and then being able to come back on the mound.
Yeah, I was in Double-A. Like you talk about my California year being unreal. That year in Double-A was just unreal. Everything was working, and I was probably a start away from getting called up. It was between me and Eddie Butler. Eddie Butler was a big prospect at the time. The Rockies were going through it, and they called Eddie up. And my very next start, I blew out. I actually had a no-hitter going into the 4th inning, and I knew exactly what it was. It felt like a rubber band just snapped in my arm, and I think pitching well helps that. Like I was kind of at peace with it. I knew that I had done everything I proved that I belonged in the big leagues, I felt like. And so I just kind of at peace with it. And, but it wasn't easy. Like every day you wake up and, some days it feels good. Some days you feel like, oh man, I just tore this again. I'm going to have to have surgery again. it's tough. You ride that roller coaster all day. And then to do it on a minor league salary. I was married at the time. My wife and I had been married for 2 years, and um, so it was tough. I was sharing a hotel room while I was rehabbing. Thankfully, David Dahl lended me his truck that was there, so I had transportation, thankfully, but most people didn't. So it's just tough to do it on the minor leagues, and I wouldn't wish that on anybody for sure.
Yeah, and obviously after you overcame that and you're healthy again, how grateful were you that to be in that position and obviously getting another chance to pitch the game that you love?
Yeah, words can't describe it, honestly.
Yeah.
Be able to finally be back on a mound, and I don't know if you touch on this, but as I broke my elbow, coming back from it.
Yeah.
And if people have watched the video, you see like a bunch of agony. And I don't really, again, I've said this a lot. I don't remember much pain. I just remember thinking, oh my gosh, I just got back. I made it to the big leagues. And, you work so hard coming back from the Tommy John surgery. And then to break my elbow again, it all just like hit me at once on that field. So, yeah, it was awesome when I came back. And then obviously, a few months later, I'm doing it again.
Yeah, and so after all that happened and you're back and healthy, and then the Braves selected you in the Rule 5 draft. So take us to that process and speak of the Rule 5 draft that's coming up soon here at the during the winter meetings, the last day of the winter meetings that's happening. So just talk about your experience with the Rule 5 draft and tell everyone who doesn't know how it works and what was it like at the Braves being interested in you too.
Yeah. You go through the process. After 4 years in the minor leagues, the teams have to put those players on the 40-man roster. If they're not on the 40-man roster, which the 40-man roster is the major league roster, reserve list, whatever you want to call it. If they're not, they are subject to this Rule 5 draft, which any team can take these players and put them on their major league roster. And so, I thought I had an opportunity to at least be on the 40-man with the Rockies. I thought I pitched well enough. I got that call. They weren't going to put me on. I was a little devastated, but I understood it's a business, and I was hopeful. Obviously, that the Rule 5. I was 4 or 5 months into rehabbing my Tommy John surgery, and I was working out at my junior college. My wife and I lived in Champaign, Illinois at the time. And I got the call from my agent, same one, me and Zook had the same agent. And he called me. He goes, dude, the Braves just took you in the Rule 5. And I was like, dude, shut up. Like, that's not funny. And he goes, no, I swear. He's like, I did not think it would happen. We'll talk soon. I didn't even pick my weights up. I went to the coach at the time. I was like, I got to go. I got selected in the Rule 5. And he's like, get out of here. We got it. So I ran home to my wife, who she worked a night shift that night before, and she was still up. She's a nurse. And we just like hugged and cried and like all this stuff. It was just like finally the disappointment a few weeks earlier of not being on the 40-man to being selected by the Braves, especially a team that, the Atlanta Braves. It's the Atlanta Braves. The Rockies was amazing. Like so many good people there, but like, I had to tell people, oh, I got drafted by the Rockies, and be like, who? It's just like, then I say, I got drafted by the Braves. Everybody knew who the Braves were. So it's pretty cool. It's just amazing. Something that, I could never be more thankful for whatever or whoever came up with the Rule 5 draft somewhere. It's such a blessing for me and my family. For sure it was.
Yeah, you play with some great teammates like Kurt Suzuki, Freddie Freeman over the years, and so take us through your debut though against the New York Mets. What was it like making your debut right away against a division rival?
Insane, absolutely insane. I was rehabbing all year, and then they celebrated when they couldn't lose 100 games that year. So it was just a team. They just broke down, and again, that was the reason that I was able to be on the Rule 5. It's just they weren't competing, and they put me on the 60-day. I wasn't taking up a roster spot. So honestly, genius of them to do. But they pulled me aside and said, hey, you're going to go up and probably make your debut. We need to get you some active again. There's some rules that you have to get 90 days active. And so they're like, we're going to call you up and we're going to get you some of those active days. And so they're like, we don't know if you'll pitch. You probably will, but we'll see. And, I think Freddie Gonzalez was my manager at the time, and he pulled me aside. He's like, you're, going to pitch today. It was odd. Like, it was like they were out of it. So they're just trying to give me some innings. But I remember warming up in, Citi Field, and Peter Moylan pulled me aside, and, he just said, hey, enjoy this. You only get one of these. And I remember running out and looking around, and the place is packed because they were good. So it was just surreal. And to come from, Tommy John rehabbing 2 weeks earlier in Orlando to now being pitching in Citi Field, New York against a World Series contender, it was pretty surreal, but amazing. My wife and I, we sat in the bar of the hotel for, I don't know, probably till like 4 a.m. that night, just celebrating and reminiscing. And it's amazing.
Yeah, speaking of, you struck out 2 Mets batters that day too, and what went through your mind once you struck out the 2 batters? And obviously, the first strike, I'm sure they gave the ball to you and to your family. So, take us to that mind, the 2 strikeouts, and you felt amped up afterwards.
Yeah, I got the ball right here. Actually, struck out Conforto, and Conforto was a rookie at the time, but I just had confidence in my abilities. I knew I belonged there. I hope that doesn't come off as conceited, but I just had that mentality, like I belong here. And I wasn't nervous at all. I was like, let's do this. Like, I'm going to prove to people that I belong. And when I punched Conforto out, I was kind of like, yeah, that's, I feel good about it. And then I walked the next guy. I was pretty upset. And then I faced New Ice, I think, as a pinch hitter. Struck him out too. So I don't know. I was just confident, really, in anything.
Yeah. Can you talk about what was it like being Freddie Freeman's teammate and helping the Braves win the World Series, and also look what he's doing with the Dodgers now, back-to-back World Series championships, and obviously class act person. His family's amazing. His children has an inspiring story, and so just talk about what was it like being his teammate. How special is it to see him now? What he's doing with the LA Dodgers?
Yeah, I mean, Freddie is a natural leader in a sense. He's not like the rah-rah, hey, let's go get him, but he's kind of a lead by example and do the right thing. Don't mess around or don't do anything that can jeopardize our career or us winning. And so he kind of leads that way. And he's a really good guy to have your team. And he sucks to face. I remember facing him so many times in spring training or, live ABs. And I don't think I faced him in a game when I was with the Cubs, but the guy is just unreal. Like when, the Braves didn't sign him back and he went to LA, I was like, that's not going to be good for the Braves, just because, again, he was the face. I know he wanted to stay in Atlanta. He wanted to be like Chipper, have his whole career played. But I think it turned out well for him, winning a few World Series with the Dodgers and leading that team and hitting those home runs and being Mr. Clutch like he is. And like you said, he's got a great family. Chelsea's amazing. She's been amazing to my wife. When I first got called up, Chelsea wrapped her arms around my wife and was like, hey, welcome. This is what we do. This is how we do things. And she was just amazing. And, our sons are close in age and our kids are all close in age. So even now, my wife texted her a couple months ago about some things. Just Chelsea's always responsive. They're never like, hey, we're too big for anybody else. So great family, great person for sure.
Well, and you don't have to remind Yankee fans how good he is a hitter. He is after what he did in Game 1 of the World Series when they faced the Yankees.
Yeah, that's true.
Cortez, I feel bad for Nasty Nestor, but yeah, Freddie Freeman, unbelievable to watch, and he's going to go down as one of the best first basemen ever to play the game, and hopefully first ballot Hall of Fame, which he deserves. And he's on a rapid pace right now with the Dodgers, and this team is loaded. And obviously, he helped Braves win the World Series too, which was cool to see. And for you though, talk about you're part of a great pitching staff with the Atlanta Braves over the years, even the bullpen. When you're part of the bullpen, and obviously as a starting rotation, we got Max Fried and all that, the stud now with the Yankees. But you're talking about being part of a great pitching staff, and then obviously the Braves had a lot of legendary pitchers that played for them too.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, having those legendary guys around all the time is unspeakably useful. Like, you cannot put how beneficial that is as a young guy, especially like coming up. And those guys, Glavin's around all the time, Chipper's around all the time. Like, you got Eddie Perez who works for the Braves. Like, those dudes, like, they lived it and they know how to win. And even like Terry Pendleton, when he was with the Braves, like, man, he was just, it's just amazing to be in an organization like that and have those people around who are used to winning. And Bobby Cox, like, having him around as well, like, it's just amazing. And then, being a part of such good pitching staffs, especially the way that Copy, John Hart, Anthopoulos, all those, they constructed such a good, just teams. And it was just a blessing to be a part of it, really. And, it's 18, we turned things around when we weren't supposed to, and just kind of a bunch of misfits in the bullpen. And it was awesome. Guys that like Jesse Biddle, who first rounder, who, finally was pitching well. You got Minner and Luke Jackson and Vizcaíno, who, had a really good year that year. And just being a part of that, it makes your job a lot easier. It keeps things loose, keeps things light, especially in a really long season. Yeah.
And talk about obviously the managers. You guys transitioned from Freddie Gonzalez to Brian Sickner. Talk about the transition period and what Brian brought too, because Brian was an underrated manager too for you guys.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's Snit. I always tell the story of when I first got Rule 5. I came in early, and Snit and Bobby Cox were there. And Snit was the first person to welcome me to Atlanta, and then Bobby was second. And Bobby's, knew my name and asked me about like how things are going with my arm and stuff. And I was like,
yeah,
this is insane. First of all, like, just really good humans. And so when Snit was hired, I like Freddie. I didn't play for Freddie that much. I think maybe 8 games I really had him. And just knowing Snit, being around a while, I was like, this is going to be awesome. Me and him butted heads a little bit at the end of my time in Atlanta, just because I'm competitive and he's competitive. And there were some times I didn't agree with what he was doing, and I may have been emotional about it. And Snit is very much an old school manager. He was very much like, hey, we will solve this behind doors. But I owe Snit a lot. He put me in a lot of really good situations. We definitely butted heads when I wasn't on the playoff roster in 18, but that is what it is.
It's speaking of that, how shocked were you that you were left off from that roster?
Very shocked. I mean, I knew I kind of limped into the postseason, and I was just really coming back from breaking my elbow and stuff like that. Was my first full season. Kind of did run out of gas. My velocity was down 2 miles an hour. But man, I threw 69 games that year. I led the team and holds and all that kind of stuff, and I just felt like I deserved to be on that team. And so I was very hurt when I wasn't on it. And logically I could see, but emotionally I was like, I still felt like I deserved to be on that team.
Yeah, and speaking of that, talk about the game you played against the St. Louis Cardinals. Obviously, you hurt your elbow against Randy Grichuk. So talk about that moment. How tough was that for you? And you've been through a lot of injuries, up and down with the injuries, but you're able to overcome it and continue to pitch. But just talk about that moment when that thing happened.
Had elbow pain for couple weeks, again with the Rule 5, like I had to make the team, and I, been telling them, and there was nothing wrong structurally. We had MRIs done, and it just looked like it was tendonitis, and I remember like that pitch before I threw a slider in the dirt, and I was like, man, that hurt a lot more than it'd been. And then, obviously that pitch when I was facing Grigic went behind him, and when I went to throw it, I could just feel like it just felt like a rip, and I thought I broke my arm up here actually. And again, like I said earlier, like so many things go through your mind when that happens, and I just remember like running off, and then I get past the line. I remember looking at it and then just collapsing because I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have another elbow surgery. I'd just gotten to the big leagues. I had just made my first opening day roster. I'm pitching well. I'm where I belong. And it just all hit me right there. And I just like collapsed. And Bubba was our athletic trainer, came out. I don't even remember what he said. I don't remember what I said. I don't remember any of that. I think I broke my arm. I broke my arm or something like that. And then I remember walking off just saying, not again, like not effing again. Like I just remember doing that. And then Frenchie, Jeff Francoeur, walked down with me, and he was like there the whole time, like hours of just going through like x-rays, and Frenchie was like right there as the game was going on. He'd come back and forth, but like he kept checking on me. And again, that like family aspect of the Braves, and Frenchie's been around the Braves, like Peter Moylan's around the Braves, like those guys, they're still there. Like that family aspect in Atlanta is amazing, and I'll ever be thankful to Frenchie for that.
Wow, that's amazing. Jeff Francoeur, another underrated player that played in the big leagues, and he brought the right-handed power bat. He had a great career, man. Underrated player. Now he's doing a great job in the broadcast world and being an analyst. So kudos to him. What a player he was. And I want to get to you got traded to the San Francisco Giants for Mark Melancon. So another good pitcher too. So, but you didn't get to play for the Giants. You became a free agent, and then you signed a deal with the Cubs. But a split major league contract. Talk about what the split major league contract, what that means, and obviously you played with another great organization, and you got to play underneath David Ross too.
Yeah, split contract is basically you have a salary if you're in the big leagues, and if you're in the minor leagues, you have a salary then as well, and it's prorated. So number of days you're in the big leagues, you get that daily wage, and the number of days you're in the minor leagues, you get that daily wage. Obviously, COVID happened, and things changed a lot of things, but wild year, going through the COVID, and then owners and players battling about like wages and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think, I just was so blessed to be a part of like another organization, and a really, really smart organization. Like Tommy Hotovy, who's still the pitching coach there. I'm with them, them and the Mets. We were talking to them. It was around this time actually. And Tommy just like, here, this is what we're going to do with you. We're going to do, your pitch up in the zone more. We think you can get your axis a little better to maybe get you some more ride and actually get you throwing harder. And I was like, sold, this is a great deal. Let's do it. And I get to play for the Cubs too. And then to get to play for Rossi, who's such a player's coach, was just awesome. Like I was excited that Walt got the job in Atlanta because I love Walt. He's a great bench coach. But I would love to see Rossi get another opportunity somewhere. I think he deserves one. He did nothing wrong in Chicago. I just really think that he's made to be a manager, and I'm excited to see where he lands next and see how he succeeds.
Are you surprised that the Braves are continuing the tradition with staying in-house with the manager, and instead of going out there like what other teams are doing? And David Ross would have been a perfect candidate for the Braves also.
Yeah, I was not surprised just because Walt is such a good person, good baseball mind. I think Snit will tell you this. Like, Snit was successful because of Walt. He had so many good people behind him that were helping him be successful. And Walt, like, he knows baseball inside and out.
Yeah.
And you talk about, like, Rossi was, I said, such a player's coach. Walt is as well. Like, when I was, me and Snit were maybe button heads, I could go to Walt and, like, just vent. And, he would tell me, hey, this is what we were thinking. This is why we did this. And he's that kind of guy. So I was not surprised when they hired him, just because I think if you have a guy like that internally, you gotta, have him move up to the manager's role. So I'm excited to see what he can do, and I'll be rooting for him for sure.
You reached out to him when you got the Braves job, or?
I haven't. Baseball's weird like that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really stay in touch, but if, like, I saw him at the winter meetings, we talk about, it's that kind of thing. Yeah.
But I mean, obviously, you keep in touch with Freddie Freeman a lot because of the relationship, and obviously with their wives and kids.
I don't talk that much to Freddie. I talked to a few guys that I played with, but again, like, if I saw them, we'd pick up exactly where we're, and that's just kind of how baseball is. Like, you move around so much, you move from a different place, you move from this place, and you stop playing, somebody else is doing this, and it's just kind of like your lives move on. And but yeah, it's it's weird like that.
Yeah, that's why no disrespect to Aaron Boone, but whenever the Yankees move on from Aaron Boone, I think the Yankees' first target should be David Ross, and the next Yankees. That guy, when he managed you guys with the Cubs, and he brought the intensity, swag. They call him Grandpa Rossi. So, and his Instagram handle is Grandpa Rossi also, I think. But he'll be a perfect guy for the Yankees. And like I said, don't disrespect Aaron Boone, but whenever his time is up, I think that's the guy they should target, in my opinion.
Yeah, it'd be interesting because I don't know Aaron Boone at all, honestly. I don't know how similar they are. Like, I feel like Aaron Boone's definitely a player's coach as well. Like, very much, he fights for you. He knows what it's like to be a player. So I wonder if they'd be like, I don't know if we want to go this avenue. But I definitely hope, like, I would love to see Rossi in New York, see what he can do with that roster for sure.
Yeah, and I want to transition to the winter meetings. Obviously, this week is busy for all teams. And the Orlando hotel is packed right now with all the reporters, players, managers, you name it, owners. You never know who you're going to find over there. But just talk about what goes through a player's mind and a team's mind, especially their front office, and as all of them are gathered in a war room or whatever you call it, and working the phones, and what goes through that everybody's mind, because it's like everybody just shuts down, don't talk. Unless if they're in the lobby, they talk. But if they're in a closed area, everybody's just focused. So talk about the process like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's an exciting week, I think, for everybody. It's busy, obviously. Agents, players, front offices, coaches, everybody is like heightened. Like, everything's heightened because you're paying attention. You're refreshing. I remember refreshing my MLB trade rumors all the time app. See what's happening, texting my agent, because the agents are meeting with GMs all the time. Like, they're going to hotel rooms, they're meeting with these teams, they're talking to these teams. I was never a free agent. Actually, I was a free agent when I was with my last year, when I signed with the Rangers. But again, that was a weird year. We got locked out that year, so I never was like a free agent when winter meetings came around. I went through some arbitration stuff when our winter meetings, but it is exciting. I talked to my agent. He's like exhausted. He's like up at 6 a.m. They probably don't go to bed till probably way past midnight. I mean, those guys are having dinners together, doing all the stuff, catching drinks. But it's a good place to be, I think, if you want a job, if you are trying to connect with people. And like you said, it's just insane. I remember when I was here in Nashville, how crazy it was. Just seeing all that stuff.
And they'll be making late night deals also. Like Jeff Passan will be tweeting at 2 a.m. What the heck?
Yeah, I forgot about the writers, those reporters and everything. Those guys, they probably work the hardest.
Yeah. Like for example, Jeff Passan or Ken Rosenthal or Buster Olney, John Heyman, all in one area, one set. That's great, all in one setting. But they'd be like, well, let me get the news out first. Let me get the whoever. It's like a competition.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, you talk about good people too. Those Jeff Passan, Ken Rosenthal, those guys are good dudes, and they work their butts off. And yeah, you're right. Like always trying to get to the next news, and so it's pretty cool week. But I'm sure they're glad when it's over.
Yeah. But for you, obviously transitioning after your career, you're spending more time with your family, kids, and everything. But if the right opportunity comes about, would you consider being like a coach in the major leagues or minor leagues, major leagues? Like it has to be the right opportunity, obviously. But if it does come up that you're interested in, would you consider it?
Yeah, I would consider it. I had a friend of mine reach out. So I work in the retirement space right now. I work from home. I get to do things like this, pretty flexible. I get to be at home and take my kids to school and pick them up from school. And so I would love to get back in the game because I love to help people. I also love the business aspect of baseball. I really do, but I'm just, I don't know, traveling 12 years of my life, being away from my family and my wife, my kids, like it's tough. It takes a toll on you. So it would have to be the right opportunity. It would have to be, I would love to get back into it, but I feel like the longer I'm out, the harder it is to stay, to get back into it. So we'll see. I love connecting like this. I love doing the reporting stuff. I love podcasts. Maybe down the road, if I can help a team or something, I would love to do so.
Yeah, tell Freddie Freeman if you get a chance to talk to him again. We would love to have him on the Jabba and the Mouse show with Jabba Chamberlain and this show also here.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely. If I see Freddie, I'll say something to him. I think another guy would be Craig Kimbrell's a really.
We would love to have Craig Kimbrell here. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. So I don't know. Hopefully Craig gets a job here soon. I think he's still got some stuff left in the tank, but yeah, he'd be a good guy.
Good. But would you like to promote anything before we let you go on this channel?
Nah. Just thanks for having me. Honestly, like I said, this is good for me. Kind of share my story, share my career, and hopefully, help somebody in the process of what I.
And you already know by me. I love whenever I connect with an athlete and work with an athlete, I continue the relationship with them, and I'm learning to be like that's why I'm also a PR manager for the other show. So I'm learning to be a manager, how to work with the athletes, and I'm learning by the minute. And you already know I don't forget about people. I keep in contact with them, and glad that you're part of the family now, and glad we're connected. And keep it up, man. This is awesome. This has been awesome, and we'll keep in touch, obviously, and keep up the great work. And tell your family we say hi, and also looking forward to having you on the other show too. So coming up, but thank you again, Daniel, for coming on. Your story is amazing. You overcame a lot to get back on the mound, and what a great. I'm going to say what a great career, underrated pitcher than you are, and I think people want to hear that story, like the story that you have. People want to hear it. So thank you again, and thank you for sharing it on here, and keep up the great work.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. I'm happy to tell my story, even if it helps one person. But yeah, man, happy to be on here.
Yeah, so let's we'll keep in touch with the winter meeting and see what kind of moves these teams make. It's gonna be crazy after this next 3-4 days. So I can't wait.
For sure, love this time of year.
Yep.